Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Francisca. How are you?
Hi, Richard.
How you been?
Been very busy.
That's good. That's good. All right. I think Kathy's with us too. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Richard. Hi, Francisca.
Hi, Kathy.
How are you guys?
Good. And you?
Good, good. Sitting outside.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's, yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice.
My kids are at my parent-in-law's house right now, so
Oh,
I
nice.
gotta get them in a bit. So we'll get into the session. Um, what just happened here? Okay. Yeah. So so right now, I think this is a good session to really be on. We see right now a lot of things are happening in this world. I'm seeing it all over. Obviously, it's like a trickle effect of different things that are happening. With Kathy, me and you're in the real estate game, so we see the interest rates are going up. We see, all it's affecting things like, obviously the inflation. We see the food, and we see it's just a lot's going on, and you can see. I had a few clients of mine that reached out, and they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do, like in terms of their housing situation. So one lady, she said she's considering downsizing, just renting like a basement apartment, and because she owns a home, but just the mortgage payments on her home are becoming a little heavy. So she's considering, just downsizing and getting a basement apartment, so that she could keep her house, so a lot of touching stories are going on, and it's all around. It's all around, like, and everyone, I think, is feeling an effect of it, and I think it's a time where, like there's waves that are all over, and it's a wave that we gotta ride. You gotta ride the wave, and riding the wave, it may get emotional, it may get you to a certain state, but that's why the faith that we have is like a really, really key component, because that is what is unseen, like because we're on two sides of the spectrum. We're either on the faith side or the fear side. So I really want to go in deeper on faith, you know because it's unseen. So what's to come? Like, what's ahead of us? Like, like, obviously you can't really forecast what's coming ahead. Like, even Kathy, us being in the real estate industry, you asked me earlier, what do I think of the rates? Are they going to change? Are they going to stay? Are they going to go up? Right? So you could make a speculation, and you could just guess, right? But you don't really know, right? You don't really know, right? And faith is just believing in something that's is still in an unknown place, but you're actually believing that it is so. You're believing that this is what's happening. This is what will transpire in this time, and and just you just keep yourself there, because just being in there, at least you could have yourself in a state of good emotion. And what's to come tomorrow, you never know. You never know what's to come tomorrow, right? And that's a beautiful thing, with this life experience that we're living in, is that you could get the ultimate blessing tomorrow, right? And or later today. You don't know, right? And it's just about keeping your intentions in the right place, staying obviously positive, and overall just letting the time pass, letting the time pass, because we can't really control, what happens. So it's good to keep our faith there, and then let the time go, and then over time we see the true outcome, of what it is that we were faithful for, right? Because in terms of the mind and how the mind works, it's very important that we stay on this positive side of polarity, all right, with our conscious and subconscious mind, right, our body and our experiences are drawn towards whatever way we want to be pulled towards. All right. So if we're in a state of ignorance, right, and we don't know, right, then that's something that we're gonna really dive into, right, and we're gonna dive into worry, doubt, fear, anxiety, suppression, depression, and ultimately disease and disintegration, right? If we stay there, but in this world that we have, thank God that we have both of these ways unknown and we're aware of them. So we know that we could stay on the faith side, the positive side of the polarity, right? And just stay there, just stay there, be there, eh, do things there, and express yourself there and put your mindset there, right? And just keep yourself there regardless of what the external factors are, right? Like right now I have a house on the market right now, and it's a sad situation. It's my client Gary, his wife passed away uh, earlier this year, right? And that was their home. They were the first owners of that home, and now he's going through this whole moving thing. And every time I meet with him, I feel how he feels, because not only that he has to sell the house, and he has to mourn his wife and stuff, but also uh her stepdaughter, right, which is she was there, but she wasn't there as much until the lady was getting ill, right? She was there like every day when that was happening, and now when she passed, he found out that um she she and his wife got another will made, right? And in the will it says that when the house sells, she gets half of the house. The daughter-in-law. I mean, it's not even her. It was not the lady's real daughter, but it's her stepdaughter, right? Um, but they got the house together, right? Him and his wife, right? So he found out that after, and he, like, right now he's really upset. He's really upset, like, and her, she's like all into the sale of the house. That she messaged me today. She said, "Oh, I seen the video you made. Oh, that's a good video." And then it's like, and then she came to our open house last week, right? And then she's like, "Oh, don't you think it's priced too low?" Right? And I'm like, "Well, this is what the market is saying, right?" And even from then, she thought the price was low. Then we had to bring the price down because we weren't getting no showings and stuff. And you could see he just wants to kind of get to the next chapter. He wants, to get this house sold, and then he has to break her off like half, or I think she's getting 45% because the lawyers got involved. So she's getting 45%, right? So he just wants to kind of, like, whatever, sell it, give her piece. He gets away from her, and he's gonna be living with his brother, like in the up north or whatever. But you could see he's like, even when I meet with him, right, and he's asking me like all these questions about the listing, and he's like, oh, because even when I was about to get the listing, a neighbor across the street's also a realtor, so he's like, yeah, he's considering a neighbor across the street, and me. And I told him, I said, hey, you know what? Like, first off, I don't mind cooperating. Like, we could co-list, that's fine, right? And don't feel pressure. Like, whoever you want to go with, go with. But he's like, yeah, I've been helping him. And then girl Allison, who actually referred me to him, she was helping him a lot as well. So he's like, yeah, it feels right to go with me. Right. And yeah, I'm grateful to have the listing. But the house is not sold yet. It's a different market. But every time I'm come with suggestions, like, oh, I guess every realtor does it different. He talked to his other guy. The other guy talked about listing it at a low price, and then go get a bidding war. You're gonna get a bidding war and all this kind of stuff. I said, yeah, that's true. That strategy's there. But then I was looking at the data, right? And on the data, it showed that everyone in that area that listed low, they actually sold pretty low too, right? So it's like, yeah, okay, you're definitely that strategy does work, but in a case over here, you know, I to show them, like, look, everyone who listed low, this is the price that they settled with, right? And then the ones who didn't list low, you know, yeah, it took a little longer for it to sell, but eventually it did sell, and it sold for a little higher, right? So I said, what we're going to do is we're going to make increments. We're going to, you know, gradually, you know, we'll gradually adjust the price to where we see a good amount of showings, right? And then when we see a lot of good showings, then, you know, then we know that's the price, right? And you know, and after I'm like, yeah, I understand. I see that, you know, you're anxious to get it sold, but we need to keep faith, you know. You know, so that's pretty much going back to you know, like what I'm talking about right now, because you know, at the end of the day, yes, it is a different market. He does want to sell, you know, and we're adjusting the thing. And I just, in my case, I just gotta let the time go by. I'm doing, and you know, take the action steps required, right? So I'm taking action steps. I'm doing things, you know, to get this place sold, right? And, you know, just taking certain action steps, and you know, just have the faith that it's going to be sold, right? And you know, that's all I have, right? Because I'm not gonna go on the negative side, and worry, and you know, and have doubt, and you know, and fear that, you know, any other conclusion. The conclusion is going to be sold, right? So with that, you know, it's very important that, you know, to have just having this information, understanding it, you know, for it to get sold, you know, right? And having a faith, because you know, in universal laws apply in all the scriptures, all the books, right? And you know, it's the faith component of it is pretty much the core foundation. It's what everything has in common, right? Because that faith is inside of us. You know, it's what's unknown, it's unseen, right? And in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, you know, it's sold over 50 million copies worldwide. It's one of the number one books on, you know, just thinking, how you think, you know, and your thoughts, you know, are manifestation of what's happening in this world. You know, so you are what you think about most of the time, right? And in the book, right, Napoleon Hill, you know, he states that faith is the head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence, as in the case of prayer, right? So saying that over, faith is the head chemist of the mind. When faith is blended with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence, as in the case of prayer, right? So as we pray, you know, as we pray, as we thinking, since faith is a head chemist of the mind, right? When faith is blended with vibration of thought, right? And that the vibration of thought is there, but the subconscious mind is the heart, right? That's the emotion that you have attached to it, right? And it picks up that vibration and translates it to its spiritual equivalent, right? And transmits it to infinite intelligence, right? As in the case of prayer. So this is pretty much when we're praying, you know, we're instilling faith, we're asking, you know, we're grateful, and but we're asking for certain things for our for us to see in this physical, right? And you know, it is unseen, but what we got to try to stay there, right? And sometimes it's difficult to stay there. Sometimes your mind goes all over the place. It goes so many different places. But you know, that's why it's the head chemist of the mind, right? And it says the emotions of faith, love, and sex are the most powerful of all the major positive emotions. When the three are blended, they have the effect of coloring the vibration of thought in such a way that it instantly reaches the subconscious mind, where it is changed into its spiritual equivalent, the only form that induces a response from infinite intelligence. Love and faith are psychic, related to the spiritual side of man. Sex is purely biological and related only to the physical. The mixing or blending of these three emotions has the effect of opening a direct line of communication between the finite thinking mind of man and the infinite intelligence. All right. So the finite, our intelligence is finite, right? It's not infinite like God's intelligence, right? Like the universal intelligence. We have a certain limitation in terms of what we know, and that's why we connect with others, and we go and we get more knowledge from whether it's books or whatever it is that you're sourcing your information from, because our thoughts are finite, but they grow as we continue to get more and more intelligence in a sense, right? Going back here, that's why the study part is key, right? Because as we study more, then we understand this information more. That's why we have these GPS sessions on on Sunday for us to go and get more of that infinite intelligence. Just the limited thinking that we have, we could stretch it out, right? And when developing faith, there comes us now a statement which will give us a better understanding of the importance of the principle of autosuggestion, right? Assumes in the transmutation of desire into its physical or monetary equivalent, right? So this is also part of the book Think and Grow Rich, right? So the principle of autosuggestion assumes transmutation of desire in its physical or monetary equivalent. So autosuggestion is something where you're repeating to yourself over and 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 over, and you really don't stop. Something that you always have to do. That's what autosuggestion is. It's something that it's like a programming where you're frequently, planting these thought seeds in your mind over and over and over and over and over, right? And when you have faith, and you have expectation, you want to put that in your mind over and over and over and over and over and over, right? Because when we practice the principle of autosuggestion, it assumes in the transmutation of desire into its physical or monetary equivalent. So, we're doing it until it happens, whether we see it physically, right? Or we see it monetarily, right? In forms of a dollar or whatever the case may be, right? So, namely, faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion, right? So when we're reading our map book 2 times a day, this is pretty much what's happening. Autosuggestion. We have autosuggestion happening, and what's in our map book, we're developing our faith, right? Every time we read our map book, we're developing our faith, right? And sometimes, yeah, like it is. Sometimes there's just moments where it's like, oh man, you know what? Right now, it's just, it's too much going on. I don't want to read this map book. I felt like that this weekend, but then I had to go and read it because of studying, just understanding that, like I need to, just be here and be present, right? And just, keep the faith happening. Just be in the map book, and the things that are on their way, right? And it's important that we're there. It's important that we stay there in that state, for opportunities to continue to happen. Because if not, then we're kind of like pushing them away, right? So as an illustration, consider, right, the purpose for which you are presumably reading this book, which is Think and Grow Rich, right? The object is naturally to acquire the ability to transmute the intangible thought impulse of desire into its physical counterpart, money, by following the instructions laid down in the chapters on autosuggestion and the subconscious mind as summarized in the chapter on autosuggestion. You may convince the subconscious mind that you believe you will receive that for which you ask, and it will act upon that belief, which your subconscious mind passes back to you in the form of faith, followed by definite plans for procuring that which you desire, right? So with auto suggestion, in a sense, you're going to convince your subconscious mind that this is your truth, right? And that's why auto suggestion is a very powerful thing, right? And in a map book, when we read our map book 2 times a day, and we're reading it frequently, and you're going in it, and parts of your affirmatory declaration have happened, right? And and everything in there you've written was your ideal life. This is your desire. This is what you want your ideal life to look like, right? And you've written this, and you're reading it 2 times a day, and over whether it be days, weeks, months, years, you're noticing that these things are actually happening, right? So when you notice that these things are happening, and maybe not everything in the map book has happened, but even if some of them are happening, then you now have convinced your subconscious mind that that you believe you receive that for which you asked, right? It says it's in the book, Grow Rich, right? And he says you may convince the subconscious mind that you believe you receive that for which you ask, and it will act upon that belief, which your subconscious mind passes back to you in the form of faith, followed by the definite plans for procuring that which you desire. So as little things that you're noticing, or big things, whatever the case may be, that you're noticing are happening, right? Then it strengthens your faith in knowing that the rest is going to happen too, because the stuff that you've written before did not happen yet at the time when you first wrote it. But through the form of auto-suggestion and reading the map book 2 times a day, the full thing, right? So starting from the affirmatory declaration, then you've noticed things happening, right? And as you notice things happening, then the rest must happen too, right? The timeline, I guess that's what makes life exciting, right? What happens in between then? Because that's what makes life exciting, right? Because you could be going on a roller coaster. You could be, all kinds of things can be happening that it's kind of contradicting what you're saying in your auto-suggestion, right? But if you see it in a form of an illusion, and you know that the desires that you have are your truth because you've seen the other things that you put in there happen, then that's what increases your faith, right? The method by which one develops faith where it does not already exist is extremely difficult to describe, almost as difficult, in fact, as it would be to describe the color of red to a blind man who has never seen color and has nothing with which to compare what you describe to him. Faith is a state of mind which you may develop at will. After you have mastered the 13 principles, because it is a state of mind which develops voluntarily through application and use of these principles, right? So I want to highlight that sentence there. Faith is a state of mind which you may develop at will, right? So it's something that you're actually choosing to develop, right? So it's something that if you really want to develop your faith, you can. Like if you really want to read your map book 2 times a day, it's your choice, right? You could choose not to, right? Or you could choose to. You could choose to do it, right? And by you doing it, you're developing your faith. And that's what it says here. It says faith is a state of mind which you may develop at will, right? It's a choice that whether we want to develop it or not, right? So as we develop it, it says after you master the principles, because it is a state of mind which develops voluntarily, right? It is a state of mind which develops voluntarily, right? Through application and use of the principles, right? So this is something that you actually have a choice to develop. You could choose not to, or you could choose You could choose 2, right? Repetition of affirmations of orders to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntarily development of the emotion of faith. All right, read that again. Repetition of affirmations of orders to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntarily development of the emotion of faith. All right, so what you're doing with the map book is you're doing repetition of affirmations to your subconscious mind, right? The more you practice auto-suggestion, the more you read over it and over and over it, right? Then you're actually, it's getting ingrained and is becoming a part of your subconscious mind. And this is the only known method of voluntarily development of the emotion of faith. So for you to have faith and for you to develop your faith, then you have to continually repeat things that right now may not be in your experience at the moment, but you would like them to, and you believe that they will, right? So it's something that you have to keep repeating in your subconscious mind, right? And that's what's going to develop the faith for you, because it's something that it's stuck in you. It's a part of you. You know, it only has to be, right? The only way it will not be is if you give up on it. And that's why it's something that you choose at will. You choose, it's a choice, right? So what do you want to choose? You choose all these things that you've written in your affirmatory declaration are dear to your heart. You read them and you feel good about them. You read them and like, oh man, I look forward to this, right? And you make it become your present, and make it become who you are. You talk like it, you walk like it. You are that person, you know, because that's the inside of you that's screaming out, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is who I want to be, right? And of course, every time we grow, we adjust. We'll be adjusting our affirmatory declaration. It's never set in stone with how it is, right? As you go through your experiences. But if you hold those experiences there and you repeat them over and over, then that's increasing the faith. And then the faith increases as they happen. Then you know, okay, wow, this is really true, right? That's why, you know, getting back to the, you know, foundational principles, right, within the program, right? Read your map book 2 times a day, right? When saying map book read, right, please ensure that you're doing a full read of the map book before posting map book read. If you're not, right, then that's more something that you chose to do at will, right? It's your choice, right? It's our choice in terms of whether we want to read our map book or not, right? But you know, through understanding these principles, what we're doing is we're practicing a form of auto-suggestion, right? And it's increasing our faith, you know, for the things that are to come to us, right? A full read of the map book is started from the first page. As you open the cover, right, you're reading your affirmatory declaration, all right? Then once completed, you read your achieve this year, right? Then this section, then you flip over to the books read. What books are you going to read, right? This part is so important because we talked about our minds are finite, right? We do not have infinite minds. Only God does, right? But we're here to gather information, right? Information that's going to help us, you know, in the future. Information that's going to help those around us. Information that, you know, is key for us to know, so that we could bring it back to the table and share it amongst each other, right? So everyone could skip that little hurdle and, you know, get this little shortcut for us to get to where we need to get to, right? And focus 11 of the current month, right? Then we read this week, and then lastly we read our critical 7. right? Which is what you will be working on for the day and getting your check marks, right? I notice when people are fresh in the network, you know, 7 out of 7s, nonstop, 7 out of 7s. I think this happened with every single person that's been in the network, right? And then it kind of drifts a little bit, right? But some people are you know, they're pretty consistent, right? But you know, it's as long as you read your map book 2 times a day, regardless of how many check marks you get, every time you get a check mark, you're actually taking an action step. You're moving towards that affirmatory declaration. Every single thing that you're putting in your map book, because it starts with the affirmatory declaration. So this is what we're putting in our subconscious mind that we are. So even if we put that in there, and then in our critical 7, we have a goal that says wash the dishes, right? In the physical sense, if we're just in this physical, if we're looking at from a physical perspective, it'd be like, okay, washing dishes has nothing to do with me living in my dream home, or washing dishes has nothing to do with me being the top sales rep for my whatever the case it may be, or washing dishes has nothing to do with me having this X amount of dollars in my bank account. But it actually does, right? Because it's all part of your life experience, right? You know, that you washing dishes at that time, it could be a minute or 2-minute delay for you to go out somewhere and bump into somebody that you're supposed to meet, right? Today I met with at the open house that I did. There was someone who came last week. He came last week, and then he came with his son. They liked it. And then yesterday, for some reason, because I was doing an open house today and tomorrow, but I guess I wasn't too sure if I was going to do it today. So I went and I took my signs. I went and I picked up my signs yesterday. And when I went to pick up one of my signs, it was by a plaza there, and it was the same guy. He's like, hey, did you sell the house? I said, no, you have a buyer? He's like, oh, no, you don't remember me? I came by last week with my son. I'm like, oh, yeah. You know, and this is when I was going for my sign. So I could have just went home, but, you know, and left it there. And after it came the next day, right? But I went to get the signs and I met with him. And then he's like, oh, yeah. And after I said, yeah, I'm going to be doing open house again tomorrow, right? And he's like, okay. He gave me his card, right? It's right here. Oh, if you guys can see it, this is his card right here. So he gave me his card. His name is Maninder Pal Singh. He actually owns a restaurant that's close to this house. So I guess maybe he's looking for something that is close to home, right? But today, when I was putting up my signs again, I went and I was putting up the signs, and then he comes out the restaurant and he's sitting outside on the porch when I stopped there. And I'm like, what? I'm like, hey, Maninder, you know, Maninder, because my plan was to call him once I started my open house. I was going to get inside. I was going to call him, right? But when I was putting up the signs, he was there. So then after I told him, I said, yeah, I'm going to go do the open house. And after yesterday, I told him that we're changing the price. So I gave him the sheet. I said, yeah, this is the new price. He said, okay. And after I said, all right, so, you know, take a look at it. Let me know, whatever. Boom. So I finish putting up all the signs. I get to the house, right? And usually before I start my open house, I go to all the homes in the area, you know, flyer up the area, let them know I'm doing open house in the area. And, you know, they should come by, come take a look, right? I was about to do that because it was a little bit earlier. My open house was starting at 2:00 and it was like 1:30, right? So I put the signs out there on 1:00. And then after 1:30, I just went in the house just to scope out the house, make sure it was nice and clean. And after I'm coming out to go in the area, and the guy's there in the driveway with his wife. I'm like, oh, Lee. I'm like, yo, you don't play, you're serious. And he's like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, come inside. All right. So I didn't go for my walk, but I brought him inside. And after he's in there with his wife, he's checking his compass, you know, what direction everything's facing and all kinds of stuff. And they seem interested. Hey, who's to know that they buy or not? But the alignment, you know, I paid attention to, right? And God's talking to us all the time, right? And it strengthened my faith. It strengthened my faith, you know, just from the alignment of how that happened. You know, if he buys a house, that's blessed, right? If he doesn't, that's blessed too, you know. But what I do know is that God is present, as God always is present. But it's good to get these signs, right? It's good to get these signs, right? And that's where faith kicks in, right? That's where we're talking about faith, right? So that's why we staying plugged into the map book is so important, because to be honest, yeah, like yesterday I was like kind of like sluggish or whatever you want to call it to go through this map, right? Because you know, went through chaos that's going on, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me just read it, you know, because remember, we have the will, it's our choice, right? So okay, so I read it, and I read it today, and then you know, this form of alignment happened, you know, and that was big. That was big. But also, you know, with you guys, you know, pay attention out there, because you know, those are the things that we need, you know, especially in the times like right now, when you know, you see many things are as they were. We see inflation. We see there's right now in the real estate market, I got a notice from a client that the builder is planning on canceling the project. You know, there's another house like Kathy, that Townsend house, you know, like right now that's looking like it may be a no-go, right? Like there, you know, all these things are going on kind of at the same time. So it's like, wow, you know, but while they happen, it's important that we keep our faith, right? And because the map book's a form of meditation, right? And meditation is something from the beginning of time that we need to have. Like, we need to really be in control of our mental space, right? Because all kinds of things can go on in your mind, and it's kind of like putting your mind together, right? You know, see it like you see this image here, you see all these scattered stars, right? See it like you're putting constellations together, right? You're putting some different constellations of stars together. You know, it's an alignment. You know, you're connecting the dots, right? And that's what the map book is. It's a form of meditation, right? Because the more you read the map book, the more you're forming your thoughts to think the way your heart desires, right? And tapping you into your higher self, right? The self that we have right now is it's limited. It's finite, right? But if we could tap into our heart's desires and our higher self, then we're giving it to God. With the affirmatory declaration, that's how it starts. I'm grateful and thank God. So we're giving it to God, the Most High, you know, to direct us, to guide us, to shelter us, to lift us, right? And this will make you have a new reality, you know, one that you so deserve, right? This is the equivalent of saying that any impulse of thought which is repeatedly passed on to the subconscious mind is finally accepted and acted upon by the subconscious mind, which proceeds to translate that impulse into its physical equivalent by the most practical procedure available, right? In connection with this, consider again the statement, all thoughts which have been emotionalized, which is given feeling and mixed with faith, begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent or counterpart, right? So how emotional are you getting? Like how much do you believe it? And like I said, the time, right? Because the time matters, right? Like, just let the time happen, and then as the time happens, you know, then we get the result of what we're looking for, right? So not only thought impulses which can have been mixed with faith, but those which have been mixed with any of the positive emotions or any of the negative emotions may reach and influence the subconscious mind. So if you have negative emotions, and if you're thinking negatively and you're looking at the negative result, it works the same way, as if you're thinking positively and you're focused on the positive emotions, right? It works the same way. So it's and that's where the you having the choice comes in, right? And that's why the knowledge is important, because and we have to keep reinstilling this knowledge to each other, right? And that's pretty much what's going on even with the session, right? Because like I said, this stuff happened, and this session really stood out to me, because it's something that I also want to do. I also want to develop faith often, right? And it's something that we should always want, all of us, right? With everything that's going on, to develop faith and understand that it's a higher power that's controlling everything, and what it is that you put in your map book is happening. The course of it happening, you may not know that the in between, but when you move with faith, then you're safe. You have that parachute that's there, that's helping you land to that position safely, right? So from this statement, you will understand that the subconscious mind will translate into its physical equivalent, and this is from Think and Grow Rich, a thought impulse of a negative or a destructive nature, just as readily as it will act upon thought impulses of a positive or constructive nature. This accounts for the strange phenomenon which so many millions of people experience, referred to as misfortune or bad luck, right? Some people say, oh, I have bad luck, right? But they're saying that, not realizing that this is what they're putting in their subconscious mind, right? And Bob Proctor is very famous for this image that he had in his teachings, the late Bob Proctor, right? And what and over here, the reason why this image is so powerful is because this image is an image of the mind, right? There is no image of the mind, because the mind is more on a spiritual realm, right? So we can't see it, right? Like if you went and you open up the brain, right, you're not going to be able to see the mind, right? The mind is not the brain. So we need an image of the mind so we can understand how the mind works, right? And this image is very popular for it, because it helps show this. And it was the image started from a doctor named Norman Fleet, who was healing people all over the world. People used to fly in and heal them, and he didn't heal them in a sense of like medication or herbals or anything. He just healed them in a state of training them how to use their mind, right? And with the mind, as we've seen, information shows energy is, right? Because energy is what's all around us. Energy is, that's omnipotent. God is energy, right? And as energy is, right, then you choose your thoughts, right? Which is your intellectual mind. So by you choosing your thoughts, it's either from things that you choose to read, or places that you choose to be, conversations that you choose to have, right? Things that you choose to watch, right? What you choose to do for the day. All of this stuff is going into your conscious mind, right? But it's also getting into your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind absorbs everything, right? So you choose your thoughts. So so if you're in a conversation, and that conversation is a conversation that you don't want to be a part of, and you're continuing to be a part of the conversation, that's a choice that you made, right? And just understanding this information, do you want to make those choices? Is that where you want your mind to be? Is that what you want your auto suggestion to be? Is that what you want to be programming in your subconscious mind? If not, then protect your mind, right? Because your thoughts cause your feelings, right? And that's your emotional mind. That's your heart. The heart is like, that's you feel that. Like if you're in love with someone, or if you're even if it's a family member or relative, you feel that all through your body. If you're sad about something, you feel that all through your body. Like, sometimes you don't want to move. Like, like, and that just shows that how powerful the subconscious mind is. It just shows how powerful our feelings are, right? And our feelings, they cause our actions, right? The actions that we do, right? So it's so important that we fill our subconscious mind with things that are going to cause us to take the right action to get the conditions, circumstances, environment, and results that we want, right? There's things that happen in between those, right? But with us keeping our subconscious mind in the right place, having faith, right? And just believing and, doing the actions, those small actions every day or every moment as well, as a matter of fact, right? Then those conditions, circumstances, environment, and results are what to come, because our what we're seeing physically is a projection of our past thoughts. So it's so important that we keep our thoughts in the right place, right? Even if things look like they're not going your way, go back to your map book and read your map book, right? Because that is what's happening. Just right now, it may seem like it's not. But then tomorrow, something can happen that will just show you that it is, or a week from now, or whatever the case may be, as long as you choose to be there, right? You choose your thoughts. You see in the image there, right? So I want to play this video from Bob Proctor, right? He's talked about having goals and goal cards, right? Right, which is pretty much the map book, right? The map book is just everything's in one place, right? And it's all there. It is your goal card. It's your written vision board, in a sense, right? And I want you to hear what he has to say.
Hello there, welcome. I'm Bob Proctor. You've seen me on The Secret. You see me here again. I'm going to share something with you that is pretty incredible. It's something I've experienced and possibly you can. And I want to suggest you share this with as many people as possible. Do you know, I have to go back many, many years ago. I was not doing well. Everything seemed to be going wrong. I was 26, I was going in the wrong direction, and I was picking up speed. And then I was introduced to this book. It's Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Let me read you a paragraph out of this. He says, remember too, that all who succeed in life get off to a bad start. And they pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive. The turning point in the lives of those who succeed usually comes at the moment of some crises through which they are introduced to their other selves. Well, you know, it was one crisis after the other with me, but I kept studying that book, and I kept thinking, and today I'm a totally different human being. My life is totally different. I earn millions of dollars. I have companies that operate all over the world. And you know, the only thing that has really changed is my perception of my life and my world. And that's something you and I can change like that. You see, if you're not doing well, or you're focused on what the broadcasters are telling you about the economy, you're going to go in the wrong direction. The Secret was right. We do attract everything into our life. Now, The Secret didn't go into any detail and tell you how you attract it, but I'm going to be telling you how you attract it right here on YouTube in future videos. Right now, what I want you to do is stop and look at your life. And if it's not the way you want, change the way you think right now. In other words, the economy is neither good nor bad. The economy just is. We make it good or bad. You see, with me, the economy is phenomenal. I have nothing but opportunities flying at me every day. Now, that wasn't the way it was when I first picked up that book. My life was in a crisis state. I was earning $4,000 a year and I owed $6,000. Now, you may say, well, that's not very much. Maybe not today, but in 1961, that was a bucket of money. And I had no idea where it was going to come from. Do you know what I've learned? We don't have to know where it's going to come from. We only have to know it's going to come. Now, you may not understand that, but I can tell you, if you go and register, go to our site and register for the YouTube videos, and then come back here on a regular basis and bring your friends back. Let them come. It's not costing you a dime, and I'm going to give you an education that'll put millions of dollars in your pocket. Again, sounds like an exaggeration. What if I'm right? It's happening to me. I've shared this with millions of people around the world. Now think, what if I'm right? What if I can show you, just like that, how to change what comes into your life? Because I can. Now I'm going to suggest you do something that I did. I want you to get a card, and I want you to move your imagination into high gear, and I want you to write on that card what you want. You don't have to know how to get it. You don't have to know where the money's going to come from. You don't have to know where the resources are going to come from. The only thing you have to know is, I really want that. Now, you see, I wanted $25,000. I didn't have a clue. I didn't even know anyone with $25,000. But you know, a year later, I was earning $175,000 a year. I took it over $1 million. It took me 9 years to figure out what happened. I'm going to explain it to you right here on YouTube. I'll explain what happened. You keep coming back, bring your friends, tell them to go and register. Get here and take a look. Now, what you'll have to know is right now the economy's neither good nor bad. Your thinking is going to make it good or bad. As far as I'm concerned, the economy is phenomenal. I'm not going to listen to the news broadcasts, the newspapers, the radios. I'm going to listen to me. I am in charge of my life. I want you to listen to you. You're in charge of your life. Think of what you want. Write it on a card. Carry the card in your pocket and read it as often as possible every day. Now, it's the repetition of reading that card that's going to change your thinking. So I don't care where your results are. You see, I deal with people that are already worth millions, and I show them how to earn millions more. There's one thing I've learned. I've never met a millionaire that didn't want another million. And I've never met anybody in a crisis that didn't want to get out of it. Take your mind off the crises. Put it on what you want. And if you get emotionally involved and stay emotionally involved with it, you're going to set up an attractive force. Now, the next time you come back, I'm going to talk to you about how this attractive force works. How you change your vibration and attract what you want. It's neat information. It is phenomenal information. I'll give you another tip. We show people how to multiply their income. You see an email address here. Just fill in, send an email, and say, show me how to set up multiple sources of income. Go to that email, just send an email, show me how to set up multiple sources of income. We'll send you some information. But for right now, register, go to Bob Proctor TV and register, or register right here, just right here on the clip. You can register right now, right where you are, all right? And get your friends to do it. Get at least one accountability partner. That's somebody you can brainstorm with. We need like-minded people working with us. Write what you want on a card, make up your mind that the economy is going to be good for you. You're going to start attracting it, and I'm going to show you in the next one how to attract it. This is Bob Proctor, and thank you.
All right. But yeah, so just I wanted to end it with that, and for us to open up right now. So we're getting to faith. You know, as what he said there to summarize at the end, I think was a really powerful video. Right. And, you know, from what we discussed, you know, express yourselves. Francisco.
Yes.
Yeah, go on and just express, you know, just expand on what we're talking about in terms of faith and, you know, and just in general of the session.
Yes, faith is energy, and the map book is a form of meditation because we have to keep on repeating it. And Bob Proctor is telling us to walk around with a goal card. One of my former mentors, I don't know whether you know him, Sunil Tulsiani, he's a multi-millionaire. He lives in Brampton. He's an Indian guy.
Okay.
He used to be a police officer. He's well known in Brampton.
Nice.
He always said that every time before he became a millionaire, he used to say, I am a millionaire in his breath.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's standing in the grocery line, he would say, I am a millionaire. He would repeat it several times And he even pasted it all over his house. He made photocopies, 16 copies, that I, Sunil Tolsiani, will become a millionaire by December 31st. So when the wife came home, she said that, no, you cannot put it all over the house because if friends come in, they're going to think you're going cuckoo. So put it in your wardrobe, put it in your car, put it in your bedroom, but not all over the living room. She had to take them down. Yes, so those are gold cards. There are different ways of people do them, but all they're trying to tell us in a nutshell, be positive. Don't think of the recession or inflation or the food price. Even if food is expensive, we still have to eat, right? We still got to buy.
Exactly.
So we shouldn't keep talking about it. He's not trying to tell us to think positively, which aligns with what I'm going to tell you next week. It's kind of ironical.
Okay. Nice. No, thank you for expanding on that. And that's the truth, right? You know, you auto suggestion, you put it everywhere. And that's why the map book is with us, right? It's something that you carry around, and you're just auto suggesting this all in your head. If you don't mind me asking, even if you guys want to raise your hands or show hands or just say it, how many of us here in our map book have that you're a millionaire? Is that in your map book, Francisca?
No, I did not put that I am a millionaire in my map book. I did not put it.
Okay, yeah, because that's probably not something that's in your heart, right? But
well, I did not put it. I'm honest. I did not write it. I am
okay.
I didn't. Yeah.
Is it something that's in your heart though? Is it something that you want in your heart?
It would be a good thing to become a millionaire.
Okay.
Yes. Because one of these guys, I can't remember, one of them said, if you were born poor, it's not your fault. But if you die poor, it's your fault.
That's deep. So if you don't mind me asking, why did you not put that there?
Well, I don't know. I didn't write it that I want to become a millionaire. But I put that I want to earn at least 10,000 a month.
10,000 plus a month. Nice, nice.
But I never put that I want to become a millionaire.
Okay, right. So again, remember the affirmatory declaration. We're stating that in the present tense, and it's something that we're asking infinite intelligence. We're asking the Creator to do for us. So whether you want to be it, like if you feel that your finite mind, like we're limited, right? So if you feel that you're not able to, that's fine. But if you have in your heart that you want to, right, then it can and will happen because you said so, right? And you put it out there, and just have that faith, right? And you look in your map book, and you're noticing things that were happening in your map book. So then if you put in there, I'm grateful and thank God that I'm a millionaire, there's a high chance that that's going to happen. Very high chance. In terms of timeline, that's irrelevant, right? But when opportunities come, you're not going to miss them because you're tuned into that frequency, right? So thank you, though. Thank you so much, Francisca. Anyone else want to expand on this session of faith? And Collins, thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I think that video, I've heard that video or that speech a couple of times, and it's good to hear. I think the statement that always sticks with me is when he says, "The market is neither good nor bad. The market is what it is." Right. So I think it speaks. It's a testament to how you see things. And it's funny that even I think it was yesterday, I ended up I was on social media and I saw a clip from a movie, and it talks about, basically it was like a story of a Zen master, and it basically says, something happens and the response is, you would think the response is actually something negative, and the Zen master's response is, "We'll see." Right. So it goes, and I know I'm going to butcher the example, but it's like a child was.
I think I heard that story. Yeah, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. Right. So it's I'll try and find it and put it in the group, but it was really good because it just lays out different scenarios, and for example, like one of them was I think he was like a great martial artist and he won a bunch of awards. That's amazing. And his response is, we'll see. And then a couple years later, he breaks his legs and can no longer compete. That's horrible.
Mhm.
And it's like, we'll see. And then a couple years later, there's a recruitment. The country goes to war, but because his legs are broken, he doesn't have to go to war. That's
Mhm.
amazing. And then he's like, we'll see.
Mhm.
So it's like all of these different scenarios that happen, and we don't know. In the moment we may think it's really negative, but you don't know how all things are coming together to work for you in your favor, how the universe is putting things together. So I think especially now with the economic downturn and interest rates and this and that, and there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of noise I find out there.
Mhm.
But now it's just a good reminder yesterday and even today now that it's like, well, you just need to focus, and all things will be what they will be. And as long as what you've put out there in the universe, like you said, eventually it will come to fruition. There's no timing behind it per se. But as long as you have breath, it's another opportunity to basically make things happen and have the universe bring to you what you actually desire and what you actually put down in your formatory declaration. So great reminders.
Yeah, that was a great expansion right there too, right? And it's interesting that that video was years ago, and he was talking about the economic situation, right? And then that's what's being talked about now, right? And I loved it. I loved it hearing it right now, right? Because as I was mentioning earlier, I don't know if you were on here, but I have a listing, right? And because of the new climate of the market, my client's in panic mode, right? And I gotta kind of be his Zen master in a sense where I'm like, yo, everything's okay, right? But at the same time, right, it's right now, if you're taking in, people talking, I don't watch the news, but I'm sure on the news they're talking about it, about the economic situation. So that again is alignment. Just the fact that in that video Bob Proctor talked about the economic climate, and it doesn't matter, like you meant, like you reiterated what you said, it's not good nor bad, right? It's about what's in you. It's about what's in you. What are you projecting out in this world, right? That has no effect on you unless you let it have an effect on you, unless you're projecting the world like that, right? And I'll keep it 100. For this listing, I was a little bit, because for the past 2 weeks I had like 3 showings at this house, right? And you already know, before it was a frenzy. It was a frenzy out there. So, you look at him like, okay, a difference, right? But it's from within me. So, I do know it's gonna sell, the right buyers gonna come. But the fact that Bob Proctor just mentioned that, that was another alignment. Like, that's again me seeing, okay, God's talking to us on a higher level right now, right? Thank you for sharing that, Collins. It's amazing. And that story was a great story as well, right? Hilda.
Hey guys, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, the faith is something that's very powerful. For me, I live by it because I believe in it. I feel like faith, of course, it's bigger than you, and that's why it's probably hard for a lot of people to really get in tune with it, because of course you can't see it. So, you feel like it may not happen, but at the end of the day, everything is pretty much uncertain. Your job is uncertain. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many different things in life that are uncertain, but you still go to work every single day thinking that you're going to have your job the next day. Right.
Yeah.
So I just find that it's like a lot of it is, of course, the mind, right? Like we were talking about, because that's also something that I've tested on myself. It was like, when I got injured was one of the reasons how I knew that I could change my mindset into thinking that things will be better, because with the sciatic nerve, honestly, I was giving up, right? Because that's also another thing. Sometimes your faith is high, but then when something happens to you, you just maybe give up, or you think of giving up, right? So for me, it was just like that transition of like having faith that things are going to be better. I was telling God, like, take my legs, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just because it was so much pain and like all these things. But then I started thinking like, oh, if you had one leg, like, you know what I mean? Just there's all these things that can come out of it. So it's either bad or good. But my faith was, okay, things are going to be better. I just have to take steps. And the action steps are what got me to thinking that, you know what, Hilda, like you can actually change your mindset. Like don't worry about it. You'll be able to work out again. You'll be able to wear your heels. Cause I thought like, man, I can't even like, I retired my heels. Like I put them in a corner. I was like, damn, man, I'm going to wear flats for the rest of my life. Like all these things. And then slowly and surely, because I started also changing my habits, right? Healthy habits, healthy thinking, meditation, exercising, all these little things add up, right? And we may not see it, but again, faith is very powerful when it comes to that. So eventually for me, I started developing this mindset that like I was powerful. I started thinking back on what I was able to do, capable of doing, but more so I had more strength and power because of my prayers, the belief that God was there for me and that he wasn't going to just leave me in the cold. Like this happened to me, but not, it didn't happen to me, but it happened for me. You know what I mean? So, I just like to really preach faith, and mindset. And even with this video that you just showed and with the whole economy, it's true. A lot of people are just like, on a low energy and low vibrations because they feel like, oh my gosh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. But even when we talk, I was talking to my sister, like, and she used the word expensive. I'm like, you know what? No, it's not expensive. It's not expensive. That's how it's supposed to be. Like, you know what I mean? Because I want to change my mindset and my language, right? The language is very important on how we speak upon ourselves as well, right? Because again, like you said, your subconscious doesn't know whether it's true or not. So you have to pour things that are going to elevate your spirit, right? So all these activities that you do, like the prayers, the map book, the meditations, like just taking in time for yourself, grounding, sun bathing, all these things help you to see the possibility that there's more, And so I believe, like, when you said, did you write if you're a millionaire? I was like, what? Like in my head, I've been saying it, like, like I'm going to be wealthy, I'm going to have generational wealth. Like I've always preached it, like I'm going to be successful. Like I just believe it in my spirit. Right. But I actually did not write down that I'm going to be a millionaire. But like Francesca, she said, like, she wrote down, like, I'm going to have like 6 figures, 7 figures type thing. I wrote that down. But like now I'm thinking, yeah, what the heck? I'm going to be a freaking billionaire.
Yeah, talk to him.
And I'm gonna write it down. Like, why not?
Exactly.
Right? Why freaking not? So
exactly.
I just like it's just so powerful. And even another thing too is when I got injured and I started working out again, that was a testament right there to show me that like the mind is so powerful. Like it was like I tapped into a secret. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta tell everybody. Like when you're like, you think that the weight is heavy. But as soon as like I was training with Jesse, right? So I was like, he was like adding more weights and the girls were looking at me like, what? This girl can do that? I was like, yes, I'm the champ. Okay. I'm the champ. So I walk in there. And even though I was like, damn, Hilda, are you going to really do this? Like, really? And I was having conversations with myself. And so when I went to like pick up the weight, I was like, you are going to do this and it's going to be easy. Think about it as being easy. Like this weight is like feathers. You're going to pick it up. You're going to do your sets and it's going to be great. And even during the midst of like, man, trying to give up, it was like, because I knew that like, I just wanted to be this person, right? Because my whole thing is like, my whole intent in working out was like, I was going to be the best shape of my life. Like I want to work towards that. And so because of that, there was no excuses. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even though I was tired I was there 6 o'clock, 6:30. Like I was taking the steps to develop that mindset. And that's what a lot of people lack, just to put in the effort into your mindset. Things might be going wrong in your life, but honestly, just going and taking these steps can have such a powerful impact. So I believe 100% in all of these things. And I don't watch the news either. Like I hardly watch TV, like, cause like I started before, so I'm sorry, I'm like really going in here, but before when I used to watch the news, I used to feel freaking depressed.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was starting to take a toll on me. Like I was like, yo, all these negative things. And I knew like the news, this is like their whole intention behind news. But like, it just like, because subconsciously you're just watching it, you just don't know. And you're taking all of this in. And it was starting to get really creepy. Like, you know, you started like, oh, you're afraid to go outside. Maybe you think someone's going to jump you or like, you know what I mean? Like all these murder cases, like, damn, everyone's getting killed every single day. And really, it's like that, but it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? There's just so there's so many possibilities. Just like you think like, oh, I don't make enough money, but there's people that are making freaking $1 million a day. Like, you know what I mean? So the money is there. Like my pastor said today, like you might think that like, oh, I don't have money, but there is money there.
It's out there.
There's enough money to go around. There's enough food to go around. There's enough everything, resources to go around. We just have to start thinking positive. Anyways, that's my take.
That was big. That was big. Thank you. And I like the part when you talked about where you recalled different times when you were able to do certain things and you brought yourself back there. I think that's so powerful and something that we have to do often. Like, you know, when you think that things are difficult or think that you're not able to do things, go back and just recall times when you were able to do it. You know, what did that feel like? You know, and it just increases your faith in knowing that you're going to be able to do this too, you know, because, you know, you've done it before, or you've done something similar, you got the experiences, right? And Hilda said, like you always say, it's the feelings. Exactly. It's the feelings. How do you feel, right? And use your feelings as a navigation, as a guide in terms of, you know, what it is that you want, what you want to do, what you want to be into, right? And then of course you pray on it. Going back to faith, you pray on it to see if it's the right thing to do, right? And if you pray on it and you get in your notification and saying, yep, this, you know, things are in alignment, you know, whatever signs that you're getting and showing that, yeah, this is the way to go, right? Then you move forward with that. Thank you so much, Hilda. Kathy DeChico.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I hate going after you, Hilda. I love you to pieces, but I don't have too much to add.
Guess what, Kathy? I actually didn't have the spirit to like talk. I was so tired. And then just honestly, God just spoke through me. So you'll do fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I feel like for me, like these GPS sessions, like I was a very, very regular, and there was a couple of weeks where there wasn't any sessions, and I really like, I don't know, I just felt like I really missed it. I feel like when I do join the meetings, it's like, okay, it's a little spark, it's a little more information, and it stays with me like throughout the week. And as maybe you guys have noticed, I haven't really been plugged in. I have been, but I haven't really been dedicated to posting MapBookRed and this and that, right? So, but I have to say, like, I've had like a very, very different couple of weeks where I've been in situations where normally I would be upset and nervous and angry and you know, have different emotions, where I feel like I'm in the same situation as Richard with a listing, and I'm, you know, my listing's been on the market for 2 months, and normally I'd be like freaking out, oh my God, like we're not getting any showings, oh my God, like blah, blah, blah. But instead, I'm like very relaxed. I'm making sure that my client is very informed what's going on in the market. And I'm just calm. I mean, she's calm too. So I think that's helping. But I think normally, like, I wouldn't have had that mindset. And it's just like, keep reminding myself that, you know, someone is coming for that house. There is someone who is going to love this neighborhood. And just keep reminding myself that it's going to happen every day. It's going to happen. I write it in my map book. I highlight it. It's going to be sold. So, and then I've been in a couple of situations. I was in a situation with another agent who was extremely rude and disrespectful to me. And I finally decided that that's enough. I'm not going to listen to him. And I told him to go shove it up his ass and hung up the phone on him. It's just like, you know what? People can be disrespectful and rude, but we don't have to take it. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you're not going to treat me like this. And if we're going to go to court, we're going to go to court. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's the way you want to that's the way you want to treat me as a woman or as a colleague in the industry. Sorry, but you're not going to treat me that way. So we're done, period. No turning back, So, I think it's just like a reminder when these things happen, they're happening for a reason. And, we do have to keep our mindset right to say like, no, I'm not gonna let this linger in my head. I'm not gonna go gossiping about it. I'm not, I did, but not as much as I normally would, you know what I mean? But I'm not gonna continue like, oh my God, this happened to me. Oh my God, this happened to me. Because it's just giving it too much energy where it's like, no, move forward. You're right. And put your energy somewhere else. So yeah, I will be plugged in more often for sure. And I'll be posting my map book read more often for sure, and joining the GPS sessions when they're available for sure. Because I do find that they're very valuable, especially for me. I just find, I don't know, it's like a habit. When I miss it, it's like I really miss it. And then, when I'm there, it kind of pulls me through the week, if you get what I'm saying.
Most definitely. And and it all comes down with alignment, last week, Hilda, Francisca, and I think Jackie Mack were on here as well. And I expressed the same thing, of the importance of that. And I know even what you're saying is a big deal, protecting your energy, right? And like what you're saying about the person, they're trying to take you out of your zen in a sense, right? So you don't let no one take your energy from you, because we're all exuding energy out of us. So it's like, okay, what kind of energy are we going to allow in our space? So by you standing up for yourself is really important, because we have to do a lot of standing up for ourselves out here in this world, and because if not, then where is the information coming from? The people who are sending that from, where is that energy coming from, right? Because energy is always being transferred, right? So whoever transferred that energy is coming to you. Sometimes you got to block it, and then sometimes you got to penetrate with your energy, let that get out there, and let that travel out there, right? Especially since your energy is coming from a purest place, a place of love, right? And that's really important, protect your energy. And that goes with, what are you tuning into? What are you letting in your subconscious mind, and just be protective of that, and just make sure that it's the right stuff. And I think that's another reason why that map book read, especially that nighttime one, is so important, because you gotta let this be the last thing that's in your space, in your mental space, right? And that's really key, because so much stuff is going on in a day. Like even yesterday, I read my map book. I made sure that my phone was not the last thing I took in yesterday. The last thing I took in was my map book, and then then I went to bed. And it's going to be the same today. And obviously, I condition to try to make that often, because you're going to get the pings, and all this kind of stuff that's trying to take your energy and bring your attention to, right? But if it's not always what you want like maybe that's not the last thoughts that you want to have, you know, as you go to sleep and in that unconscious state, right? So, you know, that's why, you know, taking that in, reading in the map book, you know, it really helps in that way where, you know, you're at your peace, where you're at that place where it's like, okay, yeah, I feel good because, you know, this is what I'm waking up to tomorrow, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So that's amazing. Mylin, chat, you guys have anything to add before we sign off?
Yeah, on my end, just keep the faith because that faith will guide you to what you are, what you want in life.
Thank you. Chat?
Just keep on believing in your dreams, and that's it.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Right, yeah, so your dreams, right? You're dreaming all day, you know. So, you know, as you're dreaming, you know, you go through the experiences, and just know that they're happening. The things that you want to happen are happening. You know, so yeah, thank you everyone for being on the session. I have to go, I have to get my kids. I was expected to go at 9, but just like you guys, you know, like when we're in the session, you know, I love it when we go deep. You know, I love it when we expand, you know, because it just leaves so much more for all of us to, you know, go through the week with. So yeah, so again, thank you so much, everyone. Have yourself a good night. You know, God bless. And yeah, map book read. Let's keep going with it. And yeah, you just understand that, you know, what it is that you want is what happening. It is happening. All right. Nice here, Hilda. And all right. Okay, everyone. Good night. God bless.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.